it's pretty wild. Seems like Ubisoft has huge plans for an E3 style Ubisoft Forward press conference, according to a brand new leak that also reveals 20 games, including ones we did not know about yet. The article notes that to avoid game announcements being drowned out by the competition, the event was meant to go ahead before this year's rumored E3. However, these plans are still in flux, but what we do know for sure is that E3 2022 is officially cancelled, but that the Summer Game Fest with Jeff Keighley will be back in June. So yeah, obviously Ubisoft is going to do a big event like they do every year, but I can see them do it in May to get ahead of the crowd, and this would then also be around their financials. And I don't expect them to be that strong, because Far Cry 6 and Dawn of Ragnarok likely did below expectations. And do you remember Riders Republic and Rainbow Six Extraction? Yeah, that's what I mean. So yeah, it's totally in their best interest to look at the future instead to get investors excited, and a big showcase is totally the way to go. So in this video I want to look at those rumored and leaked titles we might see there. Plus I will also add some of my own theories, of course. Yes, the Sunday videos are back. If you like this content, then leaving a like would really help me out. And subscribe, because yes, every Sunday we once again dive back into the gaming news and discuss gaming trends like this. First, it's good to note why we should trust Tom Henderson and his 20 games that he put on Xfire. That's because he got a pretty good track record. He leaked the Star Wars Quantic Dream game in September already, while the official reveal of Eclipse was at the Game Awards in December. He also leaked the Battlefield 2042 delay before EA announced it. He talked about the GTA Remastered Trilogy in August 2021 before Rockstar revealed it, and also did a big blowout for Skull and Bones, which seems to hold some water, as Ubisoft even tried to bring that all down. So yeah, he has a good track record, but again, not everything we discuss here is confirmed yet. The first title would namely be a huge surprise if true. He namely notes that an Immortals Phoenix Rising sequel is coming. Like, sure, people enjoyed it, myself included, but it was not as big as other new IP launches Ubisoft did during the previous generation, like The Division or the first Watch Dogs. On the other hand, this game started production around the launch of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, as it's mostly the same team, and then it was released 2 years later, while the plan was first to only give the team 15 months of development time, when it was still called Gods and Monsters. So compared to the other big AAA games Ubisoft has, this likely did not cost that much to make, not to mention the fact that they reused quite a lot of elements from Odyssey and could apply all the Greek mythology learnings to this game as well. So Tom notes that Ubisoft was apparently pleased with the performance of the 2020's Immortals Phoenix Rising, and that he has been informed that a sequel is in development. If this is true, I really hope they give the developers more time to create an own identity for this franchise, and also create more unique mechanics that we haven't seen in previous Assassin's Creed games. Maybe do multiple mythical settings, like we saw briefly during one of the Season Pass DLCs. What I do find interesting is that, according to Tom, this title is in its pre-production stage, while Scott Phillips, who was the game director on Immortals, has been working on an unannounced project since July 2020. So is Ubisoft Quebec working on 3 big titles at the same time then, or is Scott Phillips involved and is the game like further along than we might think? Because the other game that Ubisoft Quebec is of course working on is Assassin's Creed Infinity. More on that in a moment, but let's now look at another new game we did not know about, and that is Prince of Persia. And no, then I'm not talking about the Sands of Time remake. Ubisoft is still improving that after the poor reveal trailer. That one is now planned for a reveal before April 2023. So curious how it will look when we see it again. I'm now talking about another new Prince of Persia game though. The game was described as taking inspiration from Ori, and it will be a 2.5D game. So it kind of sounds like Assassin's Creed Chronicles in a way, or Child of Light. Fun fact, by the way, they added the main character from Child of Light in Bloodstained Ritual of the Night very recently. So Maybe that's a hint at something with the Child of Light franchise too. It's just overall good to see that Ubisoft is once again moving in multiple directions instead of making the same game over and over again. Like the same can be said about the Splinter Cell remake by the Far Cry 6 team, which will be linear instead of open world. So yes, please. Not sure you will see it at an E3 2022 style show, but maybe a tease trailer could be in the works. Now, way more imminent is the Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope game, which Tom reports is going well and that it will release within the 2022 window. Skull and Bones is another game planned for Ubisoft's new and current financial year, so for a release between now and March 2023. And they recently asked people to join their insider program to test an early version and share feedback. And we also got a look at their new logo. Still very curious how the game will look compared to the footage that you see here from E3 many years ago. Still should be only naval combat, multiplayer focused, and more a survival type game. I think really aimed at the Twitch audience, and depending on how the hype will be, I totally can see this be another Game Pass Day 1 title like Rainbow Six Extraction. During their recent financial call, Ubisoft said that they will look at their games on a case-by-case basis to determine if it's better to take the Microsoft money outright for a Game Pass Day 1 deal, or if they would go for a more traditional approach, so just release the game for full price. And this separate from the Ubisoft Plus service coming to Xbox, which they also announced. That just means that you can choose to subscribe to Ubisoft Plus on Xbox and then get access to the most expensive edition of any Ubisoft game day one for $15 per month. Now, it would of course be huge if they did add that to Game Pass later on, like we see with EA's Origin Access, but again, that has not been confirmed right now. Ubisoft Plus, so paying $15 a month to play the new Assassin's Creed Rift game, will of course be pretty nice. The rumor right now is that it will launch either this year or in early 2023, with the rumor mill more leaning towards the latter. Maybe you saw our April Fool's trailer, so yeah, that was not real. Thanks for all the kind comments though, but the silver lining is that many people who have been right many times before are reporting that this Basm game is indeed coming. Rift is the code name, but when we properly see it, it will likely be called something else. What the rumor suggests is that it's a smaller game compared to the previous titles. Its story is expected to flesh out the character of Basim before the events of Valhalla, and likely also add to that game's wider narrative story concerning that particular character. We should also expect a bigger focus on stealth according to Eurogamer, and we saw of course the actor behind Basim in a motion capture suit recently, which was very curious. Now, Tom Henderson doesn't add a lot to this article, but he does talk about Assassin's Creed Infinity, the true, likely next-gen only Assassin's Creed game after Rift. This one is expected in 2024 or 2025, started development early last year, so again, 2024 at the earliest seems like a safe bet. And Tom notes that the Animus will reportedly play a huge role in this new hub for the Assassin's Creed series. With it, players can be transported into any time setting they like, with additional settings and content to be added throughout the years to come. So yes, from the Valhalla Year 2 DLC in 2022, we likely go into this Basim Rift game, which then probably leads us into a small quiet period, and then we get the proper reveal of Assassin's Creed Infinity, I think in 2024. Now, apart from the Assassin's Creed titles, if I could only pick one Ubisoft game that I want to learn more about, it's that Star Wars title. I sometimes imagine that the concept art at the end of every Mandalorian episode is concept art for this game, and then I totally get more excited. But yeah, this game wasn't even covered in the 20 games list from Tom. He thinks we're looking at a 2025 release at the earliest, which I think makes sense as they started hiring and production just a year ago. So if I then had to pick a more imminent game, I would pick one from the same Ubisoft massive studio, Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. I'm not only curious about this one because it's more of a fantasy setting, which I think will be a nice change of pace for other Ubisoft worlds, but also because it's the first next-gen open world Ubisoft title. And this might hint at what is possible for all the future Ubisoft open world games when they finally are able to ditch PS4 and Xbox One. Like, I don't expect like a 180 or something. I totally think there will be a few legendary creatures we, for example, have to kill in the Avatar game. but I also hope they can surprise us thanks to the new technology. Tom notes that Massive Entertainment recently started sending out playtest invites to external QA, with these playtests beginning this week. The game should launch around or probably a bit before the second movie, so I think November. Totally a big blowout soon, likely during this event. Tom also talks about The Crew 3 as a possible game that will be announced. They did reveal the Year 5 plans recently, maybe to get The Crew 2 back in people's minds again before the new game announcement. And actually, after the article, Tom tweeted out that he learned about 4 additional Ubisoft games that are not announced yet, and I would not be surprised if one of them is a Far Cry 6.5 title, because Ubisoft always likes to launch these $40 Far Cry games 1 year after their mainline titles, like we saw with Primal and New Dawn. And also the Far Cry 6 post-launch, it's kind of override. We had the Stranger Things mission, thought that was really cool, but nothing else planned. So I think they're preparing for the announcement of the new game, and I think Voss will be the main character, but I will save my theory for a future video. I also think that the QR code inside Far Cry 6 has to be something, right? I still think it's like a free-to-play battle arena game. Also, Ubisoft noted that for their free-to-play games, they mostly wanted to focus on shooters. And you might be like, 20 games? You did not talk about 20 games. And that's because I kind of glanced over the free-to-play titles, like Ghost Recon Frontline, which was delayed because of the poor reception. I still think they're gonna launch that, but it seems to be just another battle royale. XDeviant dropped the Tom Clancy name, while it will still include like characters from those factions. More of a Call of Duty type title. But I think that the free-to-play title that has the highest chance to succeed is Division Heartland. Also seems to be the one that is the furthest along. Out of nowhere, they dropped the Ubisoft store page for this, as you can see right here, with some brand new screenshots and also some information that there's a special 45-player PvEVP mode. So yeah, I think at one point they will probably announce that, and it might then be immediately in beta, because they are testing that for quite a while now. The Division 2 also got a new mode, so they got some big plans for the Division brand with like a mobile game. They got this whole sort of timeline. We got the movie as well. So yeah, a lot of Division things planned, but not the Division 3, not a big AAA game. And overall, Ubisoft notes that for their free-to-play titles, they want to give their own moment to shine. So while they might still be part of a Ubisoft Forward event with like a small trailer, they will also get their own separate event with maybe like a beta dropping at the same time. And we're actually seeing that already, like a separate event for the rumored Rainbow Six mobile game, which should be announced on April 6th, also according to Tom. And as you might know, there's also an Assassin's Creed mobile game, Unreal Engine 4, AAA budget. Yeah, maybe not as like the same as the main games, but still, it should be a big game. We might see that at one point as well. They've been working on it for quite some time. But yeah, I agree. Free-to-play games, hit or miss. Right now, Ubisoft has to prove that they can do it. Remember Hyperscape? That, no, you probably don't remember that. Well, they actually shut that down as well. So will they be successful there? I personally hope that we also get some new IPs. Going into the PS4, Xbox One generation, we had For Honor, we had The Division, we had Watch Dogs. Kind of missing that now. You could argue that Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora is kind of that, but yeah, I'm not sure about it yet. So I hope they also have some cool new ideas. You could argue though that Roller Champions is one of those new ideas. Skull and Bones, sure, but I don't know, we heard about those games for a long time now. I played Skull and Bones at E3 2018 and Roller Champions E3 2019. Those games are still not out. So hope they still have some surprises as well. We'll keep you posted here. Subscribe, of course, for more of these Sunday videos. With the Summer Game Fest kind of happening in June, we will hear more. I'm still hoping for a Jedi Fallen Order announcement at one point, likely during the Star Wars celebration. So we'll be following everything, live react to things. So it will be a good time. Share your thoughts, of course, in the comments down below. And totally check out our previous video on what kind of happens in 2022 for Assassin's Creed. We know there's Year 2 DLC for Valhalla, but they are really quiet about that. And what is the impact of Rift on that Valhalla post-launch plan? Check it out by clicking on the screen. For now, though, I will speak to you in the next one. Goodbye.